All right. Good morning, everybody, and happy Monday to each and every one of you. My name is Edwin Edebiri, and I am the Chief Happiness Officer with the I Am Happy Project and also the Happy Neighborhood Project. Thank you for joining us today. Folks, we are going to be kicking off the week. This is what Happy Monday is all about, to give you a good jump on the week so that you can focus on happiness. Now, and I know most of you have heard me say this as a Chief Happiness Officer, whatever you focus on is going to grow. And so I was riding on the elevator coming into my office this morning, and of course I'm asking everybody, how was your weekend? And people say, oh, weekend was great, but it's a little bit hard coming back to work on Monday. And that's one of the purpose of this call, is to give you a jump start for the week, is to have you have something exciting that you can focus on, focusing on happiness. Folks, you cannot beat it. You know, one of my motivation for doing this call, and there are many of them, but one of them is that a lot of stuff just happen on Mondays to people. You know, partially people don't want to come back to work, and even folks who are not even doing regular job because of the so many years of not wanting to get to work on Monday, it still continue in their mentality. So I want to help to shift their mind so that every Monday you are as excited as you are on Friday. Imagine how your week will go if you can come into Monday very, very excited. So today, folks, my topic is a simple recipe for happiness. That's what I want to talk about, a very simple recipe for happiness. And we're going to break it down into three different parts. And just think about it. If you're a great chef and your goal is to dish out happiness in a very simple way, in a very delicious way, in a way that people want to just keep coming back for it, except that now you are the receiving end of it. So if you are putting together a recipe like that, what would it entail? And that's what today is focusing on, a recipe for happiness, something you can tap on to any time you need to. And with practice, you're going to get better at it. So the first thing, of course, I want to talk about is the 24-hour promise. Now, every time, folks, my objectives are very simple. One is to help you increase your happiness. Two is to help you sustain the happiness. And three is to help spread happiness. So those are my three objectives, every single thing I do as far as happiness is concerned. So let's talk about the 24-hour promise. Let's say you woke up this morning, and the first thing you did was go to the mirror, and you look at the mirror, and you say to yourself, I promise to be happy for the next 24 hours. Now, folks, that's very simple, okay? That's very simple. There's nothing heart-shattering about that. You know, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that will work for you. Just a quick shift, no matter what. If you struggle to get up from the bed, just get to the front of the mirror. Now, if you don't even make it to the front of the mirror, that's good. The mirror just kind of help you to reinforce it. It's kind of like it allow you to see that you are talking to yourself, okay? And that's the advantage of the mirror. And you're giving yourself very clear instruction. You're making a promise to yourself. That's the advantage of the mirror. But if you don't make it to the mirror, don't sweat it. You can do it right where you are. Just promise yourself that you are going to be happy for the next 24 hours. That's it. Folks, it's not that complicated. And then every time throughout the day, if something try to throw you off track, just remind yourself your promise and do everything you can to keep the promise. Now, if you get off track, don't sweat it. Don't beat on yourself. Just get back on track as much as you can. And remember now, you're just starting it. So that's part of the recipe. You know, throw in a promise that you will be happy for the next 24 hours, and you're going to focus on that. Now, just before you go to bed, you know, in the nighttime, renew that promise. And so when you go to bed, your mind, your brain goes to work on that. You know, that, hey, you've promised yourself that you're going to be happy. Let's do that for 24 hours and see what happens. Now, if tomorrow comes and you wake up in the morning again and you make a promise to be happy for the next 24 hours, Imagine what would happen if you really get it going. Folks, now, would every day be the same? No. But guess what? If you do it enough, you could actually develop a habit where it becomes natural. Now, don't set yourself up for, say, oh, I'm going to do it for 7 days and it be a new habit, or 21 days, it be a new habit. No, but everybody's different. The key is you just keep doing it until you don't see a need for it anymore. It just becomes second nature. So that's the first part of the recipe. That's what you throw into the, you're cooking some stuff, you throw in the 24-hour promise, okay? So that helps to increase your level of happiness. No matter what happened yesterday night before you went to bed, boom, you are ready to go now. With just that simple promise. Everybody I know can do something for just 1 day. 1 day, that's all. I'm not saying 1 week, I'm not saying 1 month, I'm not saying 1 year. Just one 24-hour period from the time you wake up. So give that a shot for today, okay? So the second part is sustaining your happiness. And I use the 3-minute rule. Now, this is going to be a little bit more challenging because it takes some more work. And that is, get yourself in a point where no matter what's happening to you, you time yourself for when you're going to feel bad about it. Now, remember the word I say, feel bad about it, because feeling bad, that's human emotion. That's okay. There's nothing wrong about that. If you feel sad, express your sadness. If you're angry, that's okay too. Express that. If you're disgusted about something, express that. I'm not telling you right now not to be human. I'm just saying you need to manage it. So when something happens to you, whether it's a small thing like getting a driving ticket, don't drag it out. There's some people, it just mess up the whole of their day. And maybe even their week. And they just start thinking about that. And if something even more serious, happen, you need to set a time. And I know some of you might think, well, it's not that easy. And that part I will agree with you. It's not that easy. But guess what? With practice, you become better at it. Okay, practice does not make perfect. Practice makes improvement. So I've gotten mine down to 3 minutes. That's why I call it the 3-minute rules. For you, it might be 3 hours. It might be 3 days. It might be 3 weeks. But folks, don't let it get too longer than that, because your brain is going to rewire itself. And that becomes the new norm. When something happens to any one of us, folks, we have a situational depression. That's just human. But if we stretch it out and the brain rewire itself, we can go from situational depression to a clinical depression. Now that becomes really bad. And we don't want it to get there, no matter what the reason might be. We don't want it to get to that point at all. So understand, folks, when something goes on, set a date. Okay, if I'm going to be feeling bad, I'm going to feel, grieve about this thing, set a tentative date. Yes, maybe you might still be grieving when that day comes, but at least you start to have in mind that, hey, I need to get myself out of this situation. I need to redirect my energy. I need to redirect my focus. I need to redirect my resources. And then you start a whole new set of instruction. And then if you think, folks, that you're just too overwhelmed and you cannot do it, you need to seek help. And that's the good news. There is help, folks. There is help out there. You don't have to sweat it by yourself. You shouldn't, and you don't have to. Seek help. And then this is also not the time to isolate yourself. As human beings, we are social beings. You need to hang out with people, friends, and relatives. And they might be able to remind you of the good times. Because if you just lock yourself inside the house, all you got to do is playing it over and over and over and over in your head, and that's not going to help the situation. So that's the 3-minute rule. And that helps you to sustain your level of happiness. And so in the dish of preparing the recipe for happiness, so we throw in the 24-hour promise, and then we throw in the 3-minute rule, and then we add a little bit of compassion. Now, I know when I say compassion, people immediately start thinking about other people. They're compassionate to other people. No, that's not the part I'm talking now. Although that part is very good. But I'm talking right now about self-compassion. You need to treat yourself well. You need to forgive yourself. You need to give yourself a break. You need to understand that you are human. And as human, you can make mistakes. You can go through ups and downs in life, but don't beat yourself, folks. Some people beat themselves so hard that we want to call 911 for them. Okay, folks, don't do that. If you can love yourself, then how can you really truly love somebody else? If you can make a mistake and you can forgive you, then how can you forgive somebody else? Let it start with you. Okay, and believe me, folks, you will have a much better life if you can do that. So let's put the recipe together. So you take a little bit of that 24-hour promise, then you add some of the 3-minute rule to it, and then you add self-compassion into it, and then you stir it up with some practice. Because I'm telling you, you stir it up with some practice. Okay, you got to practice this thing. You have to start to look at happiness as a skill. That when you are prepared and something devastating happens, you can pick yourself up. You don't just fall apart. And with practice, though, you can get better because practice makes improvement. Practice doesn't make perfect. So if you practice just the simple things I said now over and over and over and over, folks, it will turn out to be like you stay in front of a piano and practice piano, or practice how to ride a bike, or practice how to play tennis. And I know some of you are saying, oh, that's so different. Yes, it is different. So maybe you have to practice a little bit harder. But you can take control of your own happiness. You can make a decision to be happy all the time in spite of what is going on. You can make a decision to be happy for absolutely no reason. You don't have to justify your happiness to anybody, not even to yourself. So that's the recipe, folks, for happiness from the Chief Happiness Officer. I want to thank you all for being a part of this. And our tradition is to wish each other a happy Monday as part of our focusing on happiness. So I'm going to count to 2, and I want everybody to say happy Monday to each other. So 1, 2.
Happy Monday.
All right. Thank you very much, folks. You guys stay happy.